right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of At Witt's End.
Man, you almost forgot our intro. It's been that long.
I know you got. I was going to say at Witt's End, but it's just at Witt's End. So I apologize to our listeners. I'm Ken. That's Carson. He's 6,000 miles away, a 9-hour difference. You're listening to the #1 Austro-American podcast because I think we're the only ones. So I think that's a safe claim. It's been probably a month since we've done an episode. Just a lot going on.
Yep.
And I think this is 46.
Yeah, 46. Yeah, 46.
Yeah, so we're kind of just going to do a sports review. We haven't done anything on sports. And another Forgotten Jams also.
Sure.
This will be an interesting one, I think, because I don't think either of us really know the songs.
Yeah, we'll see. So that, I guess I'll intro that. So welcome to another segment of Forgotten Jams. I'll let you take it away.
This was submitted by the Black Leprechaun out of South Carolina. So this has got to be a little soul. He was a O-lineman for Clemson back, I think, in the 80s. So, like I said, it'll be interesting to see. I've got the names and everything, but I don't know if I'll be familiar with the song. So here was his first submission.
Well, this is good.
Sports.
I will say it's a good for you to judge. Then if it was a
soulful.
Looking back over my years, I guess I shedded some tears. I told myself time and time again, this time I'm gonna win. But another fight, things ain't right. I'm losing again.
Got you jamming.
Takes a fool to lose twice, start all over again. I better let it go. Looks like another love TKO. Oh, think I better let it go. What you think about it, girl? Looks like another love TKO. Try to take control of the love. To control me.
Any idea? Even the artist. If you get the artist,
I've heard the voice. I don't know.
Well, it is a famous voice.
I can place it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the voice.
Okay, I'll tell you the artist. It's Teddy Pendergrass.
Teddy Pendergrass. Okay.
So definitely soulful. The song is "Love TKO."
Love TKO. When did it come out?
I'd have to look it up. I didn't do any research.
Okay.
I'm assuming the 80s.
Okay, do you know it?
I'm kind of like you. I think I know the song, but it wasn't one of my jams.
Okay.
So, but it was a hit. I know Teddy Pendergrass, superstar blue.
So I guess this is a good one. I think this is the first song we'll have to leave to the audience to help us determine if that was a forgotten jam.
Yeah.
So Love TKO by Teddy Pendergrass.
By Teddy Pendergrass. Okay. Here's number 2 from the Black Leprechaun.
To be all alone, we both know that we should not be together. 'Cause if we found out, it could mess up both our happy homes.
And I hate to
There's no way.
Sorry enough together. As soon as I look at you, it'll show on my face. Yeah, then they'll know. We've been loving each other. We can't
It's Secret Lovers by Atlantic Star.
Atlantic Star. So
I know Atlantic Star again. I've heard the group. They did have hits.
So in my headphones, so if you're listening to the full version of this uncut version, I will have replaced this with a better audio version. He's playing it from his phone through his microphone, but the first voice that came on sounded like 90s Michael Jackson, like white Michael Jackson.
It would have been.
That was white Michael Jackson. Was the first song. The way I heard it in my headphones through your mic out of your phone.
Yeah, you'll have to edit. So this next one, I know this was definitely a jam.
Okay, but we'll say the last one is another viewer judgment needed of Fred.
Now for number 3.
She's a very kinky girl, the kind you don't take home to mother. She will never let your spirits down once you get her off the street. Oh, girl. She likes the boys in the band. She says that I'm her all-time favorite. When I make my move to her room, it's the right time. She's never hard to please. Oh, no.
By nodding your head, you probably know that one.
Yeah. But for the audience that may not know, song name and artist.
It is Rick James, and I think his biggest hit ever, Super Freak.
Super Freak. Okay. Yeah, and definitely no. Was it a jam at the time, or was it a late bloomer?
No, it was a jam. I remember it. Yeah. The other two I'm not sure about, but I do know the artists.
Okay.
So, little bit of soul for a sports episode.
The audience will have to let us know on the first two if they were jams in their heyday. Because we, I have no reason to know the songs. You should have maybe had some
a
reason.
little bit, yeah.
And then the third song, I think everyone probably
should
knows
know because it's been around. Yeah, I think Super Freak was probably top 40 hit. Probably in the top 10. I'm not real sure. The other two probably made the top 40, but were number 1 on the soul charts. So that was you. All right.
Yeah. Yep.
So now to sports. So
where do you want to start? There's been a lot of stuff going on.
Well, it's the F1 season started this weekend.
Yep. With where it left off, I should say, it's just an intermission.
Yeah. Barely nothing changed. I think it was the same finish as last year's.
Look,
it was.
I'll say this though. And I told you this, Max did run away. I mean, within 6 laps or whatever, he was 4 seconds ahead. So Max ran away. And I mentioned this to you, though, the qualifying. So if you take the Q1 session, which is the first where all 20 cars are qualifying, and they knock out the first 5 cars, the difference between 20th position and first position at the end of that session, so it's not the fastest lap, was the second. From what I heard, I think it was going back maybe 15 years or so. If you had taken that second and you had gone from P1 to a second back, that would have placed you P5. So the degree of separation between what are basically 10 brand new cars that these teams have all brought. They're all brand new to the first race of the season, and
some new configurations. And new liveries that kind of...
But to put all 20 cars built by 10 different teams with 20 different drivers, and they're all within a second of each other in that session is crazy.
And you need to also mention all 20 cars finished.
Yeah. And during the race...
is unusual.
Yeah, the first race, all 20 cars finished, so the reliability for every car is, at this point, pretty crazy.
Yeah. Now, you were able to watch the race live. If I had gotten up in time, I could have watched it live. I watched the recorded session, so I sped through it because I don't want to say it was boring, but the finish was as expected. The start
it's quite literally...
The middle of the pack was the more exciting.
Yeah, between 2 and 15, I'd say, is very exciting. There's so much going on. The teams are very close. It's track dependent who is at the top and who's at the bottom of that 2 through 15. And you can, there's teams that are to the front of that. There's teams that are to the back of that, but they could go either way on any given track. And but the fact that one is not in it is slight, it kills it.
Maybe watching it, I'm rooting for Ricardo to come back. What's the name of the new team? It's RB, Red Bull.
The V-Carb.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that.
Visha Cash App Racing Bowls.
Yeah, it doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, it's not a good name. No one likes it. Everyone calls it RB or Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri.
I think the fast food chain in the United States called Arby's, for those in Europe, should be a sponsor because that rolls off would fit very well.
I will say the car looks good from them. That's a good looking car. It does
look good. Like I said, I think everybody's rooting for Ricardo to make it back. So that was kind of interesting. And the swap near the end of the race.
Yeah, the spiciness with him and Yuki.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Yuki. I know you guys are. You are.
I mean, Yuki deserved the spot, and he was like,
I would have been pissed off too if I was told, hey, let him pass,
but he
swap spaces.
The team just didn't help him at all basically during the weekend. He had a rough pit stop. He had bad strategy. They called for the swap right when he was half a second behind. I think it was Bottas or K-Mag. He was right in striking distance and faster, and they called for the swap, and he swapped. And then Ricardo didn't pass him, and then they didn't call for the swap back.
Said. Yeah,
they didn't call for the swap back when he didn't pass him by the last lap. Like they should have just given him the spot. Just in the end, it is a 0-point change, right? But
no points.
Yuki was the honorable team member there, and the honorable thing to do if Daniel Ricciardo had not gotten the place have been to swap back, in my opinion.
And, for those of you listening that don't follow F1 racing, that is something, it's an individual sport and a team sport. You're competing against all the 18 other drivers and the teams, but you're also competing against your teammate. And part of the interesting part of F1 is the dynamics between each of the two drivers on a team.
Yeah, it's super, it's pretty unique among, I think, most sports that there's kind of like, hidden level too, because you have the sister teams in a way, which no one really likes to talk about it. The FIA, you have the sister
RB
teams,
and Red Bull,
and Williams and Mercedes. You have Ferrari and Haas in a way. So there's all these sister teams too.
And what's interesting too is Red Bull is dominating, and they're on the verge of breaking a record that is held by a racing team that really has done nothing except be in the lower half of the rankings in F1 in the modern times is Williams Racing.
Yeah,
I think Williams has the most wins, and Red Bull is about to surpass them soon. I don't know if it's the next race.
No, they don't have Williams has on the most wins. Ferrari,
I think they do.
Ferrari's been in every season ever. They definitely do.
Well, they're going to break a record that Williams currently holds.
It's probably Williams. It's Williams Racing,
the driver,
like win total, but it's probably not a
the
Ferrari's
record
been there
forever.
Total. Yeah, Ferrari's is the only team that been there in every season, so they definitely have the most wins.
Yeah, exactly.
If I remember correctly.
What about the things that happened over the last year? Christian Horner, what's up with him?
Well, let's start at the beginning of the off season, or not even the beginning, but the earliest off season was pretty interesting. So there's a lot of stuff that happened. So the first thing, I don't know if you remember this because it came and went really fast. But Toto and his wife Susie Wolf were actually under investigation at one point back in I think December by the FIA because Toto obviously is the team principal of Mercedes. His wife is on a board and runs F1 Academy, which is like the women's feeder system. And she's the head of there, but she works for the FIA. So there was somehow she was sharing information to her husband that could affect something. I don't know what the whole, what information they could be sharing.
Probably about drivers and stuff and backroom talk.
It got dropped so fast, and I think there was more backlash for the FIA about the investigation than like
but
evidence
there
against
is
the Wolves.
information that's
The Wolves.
could be compromised that a team principal couldn't have. You know, they're sharing a bed together. They got to talk. So there's definitely a conflict of interest.
Yeah, but it's F1 Academy is the women's, racing.
So you're saying there's really not anything that could really affect.
I don't think there's information that Toto
I wouldn't either.
doesn't have.
So maybe that's what was probably why they dropped it. There's nothing there.
It's probably nothing there, and but yeah, it came and went so fast. I think it was done within 2 days. And it was more backlash against, I think, the FIA than the Wolves. So, but the next thing that happened after that, one of the worst things that happened for Netflix, the sad thing for fans everywhere, Gunther Steiner was released, or he left Haas, but he's basically released.
I don't know if I'd say that was bad for Netflix.
I mean, he's one of the best personalities in the paddock.
But I think the ratings will still be there.
Yeah, but it's just.
I think Gunther is just a personality that everybody loved.
Exactly.
He's German, right?
Yeah.
But he speaks fluent Italian. But he lives in North Carolina,
French,
and he's a personality. I think if anything, he may be hurt because maybe he doesn't sell as many T-shirts with his face on it. But I don't think he'll hurt the ratings. I think he'll be back in some way.
Well, he got picked up by a German broadcaster. So
yeah,
he's still in there. He's just in a booth commentating. So
I was kind of hoping or thinking he might get picked up or someone and start working for NASCAR. I just thought that would have been fun.
It's definitely a possibility. I think it could be a good landing spot for him since he's still in North Carolina. But yeah, I mean, it sucks that he's not on the pit walls, but it's Haas kind of seemed like they didn't have a lot of movement, so. It'll be interesting to see what their next team boss is doing.
I think I went to a Florida and I was at the F1 outlet store, and I actually went up to the guy and I go, "What is it with Haas? They have no merchandise anywhere. They don't have it at the races. They're an F1 team that's really, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're committed or marketing themselves well enough. They're the U.S. team right now. They should be like really marketing themselves, and they don't. But that's just a personal thing.
Well, speaking of that,
yes,
another off-season unfortunate circumstance. F1 rejected Andretti Motorsports' bid for an F1 team.
Shame.
Yeah, it was very disappointing, and I think at this point I saw a good joke on Twitter after this Bahrain race. F1 needs to explain to Andretti why that Andretti should be allowed at F1 after how boring that one was.
Was there really reasoning why they denied him?
Heritage. Most
prestigious.
Heritage of what? His name. His name wouldn't bring value to Formula 1.
So that was one of the things I was thinking. They rejected him. His name is so synonymous with racing globally that it would overshadow maybe some of the other teams.
Well, they thought he wouldn't bring value, like his value.
I thought the opposite.
No. That was one of the. I know there's other things to it, but one of the things I heard was that Andretti would not bring value to Formula 1, which
really?
I was like, Andretti name is it's the most F1 synonymous name in America.
What? And not even F1, racing in general.
Yeah, racing in general.
Yeah,
but
it's he's Italian, Andretti. And it would have been Cadillac, I believe, was
Cadillac GM. Yeah, it was.
So
their,
that was the one thing I'm thinking. Maybe it's because of Cadillac. It's not really known as a racing team or.
They had everything set up,
but it was all set up. So I was thinking maybe the other teams were a little bit fearful of them cutting into their profits.
Cadillac's been really good in the Daytona prototypes, Le Mans.
Yeah, they're aggressive. They're trying to change their image from strictly a luxury.
Yeah, they've been a really good race team in the prototype racing endurance racing world.
So I mean, I was kind of excited about it. If I was Haas, I wouldn't want him in because they become America's team immediately.
There's a theory that Haas may want out. Yeah, not Andretti goes in.
I think he wants out. That's why I'm saying it. They don't even. one of the easiest things to do would be to merchandise your team to make money, and they're not doing it. So I'm thinking it could be Haas Andretti or Andretti Haas in the future, just Andretti.
Yeah, Andretti.
I was hoping even the Alpine team. I was thinking maybe Andretti.
Yeah, I think you need a French team, and that's where they fit. Well,
Please.
They do suck.
Nothing against the French. Yeah, they suck. They got 2 French drivers. One I like, one I don't like. So,
but speaking of teams, so a couple teams changed their name. We talked about one earlier. VCarb, Visa Cash App Racing Bulls.
I'm all for sponsorship, but come on, man, get something that people can pronounce and rolls off the tongue.
The name is ridiculous. The car is great because it looks like the old Toro Rosso. It's not full Toro Rosso like livery, but it's very similar, and it's very That's one of the coolest liveries of all time.
But what's the
other
coolest one?
The other new team name, the Kit Sauber F1 team, that is comboed with Stake. So Stake owns Kit. Kit is a streaming site, and Stake is a gambling website. But
Kit, the library,
their colors are like bright green and black, and the livery
not bright green, lime green. Like
it's just a bright green. It's not lime. It's not lime.
Well, when I first saw it, I was thinking, I wonder if that's Monster Energy drinks is bought in.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be perfect for Monster, but.
But yeah, so the Kit livery on the Sauber team looks insanely cool on the track.
When that car is heading out you on the track, that's when it really looks cool. It stands out. You can follow that car all around the track.
That's what like a lot of people missed, because like when some of these cars debuted this off season, and people are like, it's just a carbon fiber. That's it. There's no color on these cars. There's just no paint, no color, and then like Kit came with their car, and it was just like. Wham, and it looked so cool, and it looked so good on the track. Like, it just stands out. Luckily, Ferrari's kept all their red, so they didn't go all like half black on theirs.
Well,
and
Ferrari, you really can't. I mean, Ferrari's known for their colors.
That's why it would have been insane.
Ferrari red. I mean, you know, you go to a paint shop and, hey, I want Ferrari red. That's the name of the red. It's
Yeah, that's why it would have been insane if they had taken a lot of like the color out. I do think the McLaren car looks really good this year.
And you know your who's the principal?
Zach,
the country band.
Zach Brown.
I always joke that he's got a great country band that he leads. That's more successful. But McLaren, I think, did well. I know that's your team. The library looks good. Zach Brown looked happy at the race.
Yeah. I mean,
he was the most pleasant I've ever seen him.
They were like terrible at the start of last year, so they're starting on a good foot. They are dead heat with Mercedes in terms of lap pace. So they were.
I'm not a fan of Mercedes, so I'm good with that. I'm hoping McLaren takes them.
Yeah, well, I guess we can transition there because Lewis Hamilton is moving to Ferrari. So,
when did that get announced?
You didn't know this?
No, I thought he had signed another.
Ago.
Oh,
so you're referencing having watched Drive to Survive. So Drive to Survive dropped.
Well, maybe that's what threw me off, because I remember Hamilton talking about moving. Yeah, and then I started watching Drive to Survive, and I could have sworn part of it was he had signed a 2 or 3 year deal.
Well, that's the whole thing. As I was watching that, I was like kind of awkward, because we all know he signs with Ferrari now, and that like a year ago he had signed that. He re-upped. It's not fully a year ago; it's less than a year ago.
Well, he had done that re-up. I'm not a big fan of Hamilton. He turned me off when he first came to the States and was bragging about being the greatest driver ever. I like a little modesty and a little humor with my drivers.
That's just not an F1 driver, though. Look at
seriously. Lando, all those guys. I know they all think they're the best, but Hamilton kept saying he was the best.
Look at
of
guys
all
like
time. Of all time.
Schumacher said he was the best. James Hunt, famous for.
But ever since Hamilton came to the States and done that, his career's kind of nosedived. And I don't know if he's going to do any better with Ferrari.
Well, I mean,
who's
for a lot of drivers, Carlos Sainz.
Oh, it is Sainz?
Yeah.
Has Sainz signed with anybody?
No, that's kind of a storyline of this year. Sainz could care less about team orders now, because he doesn't have a seat with Ferrari next year.
Yeah.
But So yeah, so Lewis joined a Ferrari, and it's one of those things though with F1 drivers, like to drive for Ferrari. It's Sebastian Vettel was the same way, right? You drive for Ferrari, like there's nothing more peak in F1 than driving for Ferrari. Like it's the F1 team. Well, no, that's just what every driver says. It's like driving for Ferrari is.
For a fan, I guess I would go back to my Niki Lauda days. Yes.
That's the pinnacle of Formula One.
Pinnacle now, I would say, is Red Bull. I mean, their cars are dominant.
But just in being historic, being a fan of F1, right? The pinnacle of
the entire history
of
history of F1 is Ferrari. They've been there,
especially
since...
like my generation, Lewis' generation, right? Grew up watching Schumacher, Ferrari, dominating this Ferrari, and even going back to Niki Lauda, like Ferrari had dominant seasons, and Schumacher was in that red Ferrari, and that just brought it back up, right? So
but it's now that Ferrari, I mean, now that with Netflix, the popularity of F1, I think this generation, years down the road, depending on what Red Bull does, Red Bull is kind of taking Ferrari's place.
You can't take Ferrari's place. I don't think that at all. I think more people
you'd be somewhat of a traditionalist. It's definitely a traditionalist as Ferrari Red.
No, I think more people hate Red Bull than have ever hated Ferrari.
You think they hate Red Bull? Or they think they hate Max?
Both. It's it's both the team and Max. It's like people have a strong passion of hate for Red Bull and Max. Yeah. Which, it's kind of crazy, but I don't think Red Bull is taking any place of Ferrari. I think people still want to go to Ferrari.
As you know, I'm a Red Bull fan, but a lot of it has to do with Didi and Didi's
and especially because of how people see Red Bull racing, and that
cocky and rich.
Well, no, it's just they're really hardcore about like the thing that happened last year with De Vries, where they took him out mid-season, kicked him out, right?
Yeah.
They're a hardcore team. They expect winning, and they build around Max right now, right? So.
Since we're talking about Red Bull, maybe that's why I haven't been real clued in during the off-season, following a lot. It's not popping up on my phone as much. But Christian Horner, it seems a lot of news. A lot of news with principals. And, I was curious. I didn't see anything mentioned yesterday. I don't know what's going on with him, but he was in trouble.
Yeah, so he was in trouble. It came out that someone had some allegations. A female employee of Red Bull Racing, I believe it is not Red Bull, the main company, had come out with some allegations of inappropriate, or also just being a tough, like a
hostile workplace.
Hostile workplace.
But when you think about it, that is F1 racing. I mean, it's
not anymore. It isn't. It's so PR driven nowadays.
What you see on TV,
years ago.
I mean...
Oh, you're talking about like how difficult of a workplace it is, like the pace and everything. Yeah.
Well, you're talking about like Yuki being pissed off at his teammates. I mean, I can see.
But the allegations were also about like inappropriateness and stuff like that. And then there was, I think it was 2 weeks ago or so, Red Bull, the company Red Bull, not racing, started an investigation with a third party.
Well, and I think we also need to mention, I believe Christian and Didi, who had just passed away, was the head of Red Bull. They were good friends.
And there's
current executive staff is not fans of Christian.
Yeah, she's pretty powerful, and Verstappen, Jos Verstappen, Max's dad, doesn't like Christian.
Oh, he doesn't? I didn't know that.
No. That's
why not? I mean, Max seems to like him. I mean, Max has been so successful under Red Bull.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. Because Jos Verstappen is a weirdo. No one likes him. He's
Max
like
is
worse than
unusual
anyone.
too. I would like to meet him someday.
Max, I think it's he's
goofy.
I think he is pretty normal. Like he's very serious about his job, but I think he's more normal than he looks and acts on like TV.
Yeah, but talking about the Drive to Survive on Netflix, the thing that I laughed at, and I go, wow, Max is not that great an athlete. Or he was playing paddleball, kind of a
Oh
version
yeah,
of pickleball you saw, and he
yeah,
couldn't hit the ball. He was terrible.
yeah. He's a sucky paddle bar.
Yeah, I think he was playing with Lando one day, and Lando was kind
He's
of
playing with
laughing at him.
3 other
Or science.
drivers. There were
Yeah,
three.
they were all,
3 of them.
yeah. I'm sure they were in Monaco or somewhere.
Yeah,
So
it's
that I found
that
interesting.
was Monaco. Yeah.
I mean, he's strictly a driver. I don't think you'd pick him to play on your basketball team, or you'd be the last guy.
Yeah, but yeah, there's so they launched the investigation. It just recently concluded, just before the race weekend started. Red Bull, the third party lawyer, came back with nothing. They said there's no evidence of any of these
Unsubstantiated.
allegations. Yeah, it was all substantiated. And then during the weekend, a anonymous sender sent out to 200 journalists in F1 higher ups, including Mohammed bin Salman, the head of F1, a lot of executives and all the team principals, sent a Google Drive of screenshots of WhatsApp, of supposed WhatsApp messages between Christian and
This woman.
this woman. Yeah. And it had like photos of him, potentially like a topless photo of him, and just a bunch of random like weird provocative text messages. Not really provocative, but like,
Yeah.
I'd love seeing you or something, stuff like that. Just kind of weird.
And for those of you that
it all
don't
felt-
know, he's married to one of the Spice Girls. Former
Yeah.
Spice
So
Girls.
it all felt kind of weird. Like the messages read really weird, and it's just like it was a whole weird
It could
thing.
be
And
fabricated.
to be honest, and nowadays it's hard to
AI.
set something with AI, real or not.
Because it's funny with, I was thinking that too, because some other celebrities here in the States have had WhatsApp has become, proof that they did something. But with WhatsApp, they always mention it's so encrypted, it's private messages, nobody's going to get them. And now you got AI out there. You can create stuff that you can say it's from
Yeah, but you
someone.
can fit the visual. The messages are still encrypted, but these are just screenshots of messages. So it's that the chick would be screenshotting.
Oh, so
them.
he would have, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like someone intercepting them or anything. It's just screenshots
Or
of
hacking in.
these. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So it's weird that the F1 offseason has been dominated by news of principles more than anything else.
Yeah.
Except for Hamilton, I
Yeah,
guess.
and I'll say so. Warner's been very adamant about everything. Red Bull's backed him up. There's been no change of the team. There was an interview with Jos Verstappen recently. I don't know where the interview was. I can't remember who he interviewed with, but where he came out kind of with some disparaging remarks against Christian Horner, which I thought was kind of weird. And
I don't know what I
no
would
one
do
likes.
on that.
So again, Jos Verstappen, no one likes him. He was not
Well,
a
I noticed
great.
in the race he was right behind the Christian and the
Yeah, he's in the garage. Yeah, he's right in
Yeah.
the garage. He's behind
which
the
I thought was
fence.
unusual. But I guess he's
He's
the number
always
one
in there.
driver in the world, dad.
Yeah.
So
Well, he was a driver, right?
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he drove for I think it was 7+ years or so in F1.
For who? Oh,
I can't remember I think there was a few teams. He didn't really do anything.
yeah,
But
interesting.
yeah, he was a driver. Also, I think people have said he was an abusive husband and stuff like that. So and he's always
So
been
not a
very
nice guy.
very tough on match. So but it's the final small things. So Leclerc and Norris also signed long-term deals.
Yeah,
The off season.
Norris I found was interesting. Him signing.
Yeah, I mean he's
So
people
what?
think he's of the younger drivers. He's number 2 to Max is what most people say.
But his chance of winning is dependent on the car. They all say he has the skills. It's all about
fully
the
dependent on the
car.
car. Yeah,
So
and I think McLaren are in a positive direction. Like
Oh.
they're moving really positively. Zach Brown, I think, just made a lot of good moves with hiring
Yeah.
people that are the correct people.
He stopped touring. He took the band on hiatus.
yeah. It's funny because like people hating on him for a lot of his early stuff about getting a lot of sponsors on the car, but I think that has really helped because
Well,
they
you need 'em.
have got a lot of funding.
I
and
wonder
that's
if he
what
gets
it's
a lot
all
of
about.
grief because he's an American too.
Oh yeah, 100%
Yeah.
he does. And he's been in F1 for a long time too. He's been there for like 20 years. So he's been around. So that's our F1 discussion in the early season.
I will say one of the reasons we haven't done an episode, we've been doing a lot of stuff. I tried to attend the Daytona 500. Because of rain, it rained in Florida that whole week. They pushed the race till a Monday night, which I could not stay for. So I've got Daytona 500 on the books for next year.
Maybe I need to get out that way.
I've only got one ticket.
You've only been to one NASCAR race, right?
I don't even remember it.
I know exactly which one. We went together, me, you, and Jack, to Sonoma.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting.
It's a NASCAR race.
It's Sonoma, but I don't consider it a true NASCAR race.
It's definitely a NASCAR race.
I will say, just so you guys know, maybe we'll talk about it. I'm going to COTA, which is also the home of Race of America's, the F1 race.
F1 Austin Grand Prix.
Yeah.
United States.
But don't they call it the Grand Prix of America?
The United States Grand Prix.
Yeah. And if you kind of follow F1, guys that go to COTA talk shit about all the other races, saying COTA's the best track.
COTA's the I'm looking forward. Race.
The nice thing about going to the NASCAR race there, it's much cheaper than going to an F1 race, and I've got nice seats in the grandstand. So looking forward to checking out the track.
Yeah.
Spring training has started. I'll be doing some of that. Going to see the Giants and Dodgers in Scottsdale. Sold out game. Going with the guys, so we could talk about that in the future. But you've had a lot of activity.
Well, any predictions for the baseball season coming up? I think Logan Webb repeats as a number 2 Cy Young candidate.
Hopefully he repeats, but gets the nod. So those of you, Logan Webb is somebody Carson and his brother went to school with, played Little League with, football with, friend of the family. And just a stud, signed a great contract recently last year. So Cy Young candidate.
Also famously lived next to his wife.
His wife. Yeah.
She was next door neighbors when they were.
Yeah. We were hoping to get him on the podcast when he wasn't famous, but now I don't think his publicist would ever let him be on our podcast. So maybe we'll see one day.
He does it a little differently. His Twitter's a little bit wild sometimes.
Is it? He goes to a lot of events we do. He was at the F1 race in Vegas. There's something else recently. He was at concerts.
He was at the Super Bowl or some radio.
Yeah, we were at the Super Bowl, sorry to say. But, hopefully next week we get a chance to talk to him, so we'll see. Maybe I'll get him a JKU T-shirt. So he can be the highest paid athlete supporter of JKU
there's
football
always,
in America.
That's one of the things now, for athletes walking into the clubhouse before a game. That's like a runway nowadays. So what athletes wear to the clubhouse before games is a big deal.
Or hats during their post game interviews and stuff. I always wonder about that.
Maybe him wearing a JTU Astros.
Yeah.
And
all right, so I have your permission to give him a shirt.
Yeah, but do you have it? Do you have a spare shirt?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
No, I can order one.
Yeah. So that's on the calendar, but talking about JKU football season, the second half of the season starting up. You've started practices.
We have some. We have a training camp. Another team. One of your favorite teams in Austria.
Steel Sharks or the Impalers.
Nope. The Bad Words.
Bad Words. I can't remember that.
Starts with a B.
I'm old, man.
The Bastards.
Oh, the Bastards.
And we have a training camp with the Bastards.
You got to remind me of that Nazi movie, Inglourious Bastards, every time you say that. So, yeah. But I love the names of teams in Europe. So it's just fun. Put it that way.
So we have a training camp with the Bastards. We have a scrimmage a couple weeks before our first game. Then our first game is April 19th or something, middle of April.
And I'm hoping
the first home game. Also,
the first ever Lintz football game.
Home game Yep.
So I'm hoping you guys make the playoffs so I can return to see the big national championship weekend of the Summer Bowl in July. Football in July, folks.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's not uncommon around here. European football's on the spring schedule.
Well, European football, you mean American football?
European American football.
Yeah,
is
that's what's
spring,
confusing.
Summer. That's when the big seasons are.
So that's starting up, but staying on JKU, big things happening on campus again.
Yep, for the first time ever in their second year of competing. Both
and the kids from Upper Austria kicking
men's
ass.
and women's basketball teams are making the playoffs, which is also significant because for the first time ever, the first round of the playoffs are being hosted here in Linz. So that means all of the Vienna teams have to travel to Linz for their basketball games, even if they're not playing a Linz team.
and they're it's going to be played at the event center there, which is kind of an unusual layout in that it's kind of in a sunken hole with steep bleachers at one end of the court. Are there bleachers at the far end?
No, they're not super.
And then steep. On the sides, it's elevated up above, so you're looking down. So you're gonna it's sold out when it's just Linz playing against a team. So all the teams are coming. So I don't know where you guys are going to put all the people.
It'll be interesting. I'm curious to see the layout that the staff comes up with because there'll be a lot of basketball being played, and I think there's going to be 4 games in total throughout Saturday. So with the men's and women's both playing.
I was going to say with men's and women's, and you got to also mention that although it is historic, last year was historic for the women's program because it was their inaugural year and they won the Austrian National Collegiate Championship.
The trophy is sitting in the Astros office in that same building.
Oh, I forgot about a trophy. Yeah,
there's a big giant cup. It's about off the screen big.
Oh, good for them.
Big cup.
I'll have to check it out next time I'm there. So
hopefully they retain it for the next time you're here. But good luck to them. It was extra exciting because the game that determined whether the Astros men's team was going to the playoffs was actually not. They were not the deciders of their own fate. That fate happened today, and I have to give a shout out to the University of Vienna Emperors for beating the Tegu Robots in double overtime to send the JKU Astros men's team to the playoffs.
Yeah, and for those of you that heard the Robots name, I think they're probably the most popular mascot on your Reddit feeds for Austrian football, but we welcome your support for JKU, the Astros. And
I think the Astros are the most popular. I like to think I'm working to help that out. So,
are you still the only American you know of, coach or player in the ACSL?
Yeah, I don't know many people on the other teams though. So
the other teams have a larger coaching staff too. So good luck.
When I heard that a couple of the universities in Vienna have over 100 football players come out.
Yeah, that's why you've got a monumental task of not just a new program trying to build in and make the playoffs, but a program that is not got the 100 kids on the team.
I think
which
just
may be
like
good,
these
maybe
teams,
I don't know.
Just like these teams, I think you give it a few years, and I think it'll potentially get there.
Yeah,
it'll get close to that, but first year, I mean, it's tough. It's really tough.
I think we've mentioned it before. If there's any kids out there that want to extend their high school career, know they can't play at the D1 level, but want to play college football, there's a spot for you in Linz, Austria.
Get an education,
many classes are taught in English. So
get an artificial intelligence master's, and same amount of time it'll take you to get a bachelor's in the U.S.
Little to no cost.
Yep, much cheaper.
And before we end the segment, European soccer, football. You've been to some interesting matches recently. One that I really wish I could go to. One that you did a TikTok on that got a lot of views.
Couple views.
You went to the Derby of Vienna.
Well, yeah. So I this was last weekend. I had a full
And
weekend
I'm wearing
of
the last shirt by the way.
foosball.
Yeah.
So I had a double feature weekend. So on Saturday I saw Last lose, play like their worst game I've ever watched them play. And on Saturday lost to a team in the bottom half of the league. And that was very disappointing. So
Did you say the American kid on the team was the one that kind of blew at the end?
yeah, he
like
gave
that?
up a penalty in the 15th minute, so that was unfortunate. But he's been a good player for them. He's been starting every game, so a lot of so it happens as a defender. He's a defender, so yeah, it's tough sometimes. But yeah, everything. I mean, the dominoes started falling early for them in that game, and they kept falling throughout the game. So it was just a battle around. But Last appreciates your support in America with you wearing your shirt. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But
and my Waste Management Open hat.
yeah.
Smells like beer.
And then Sunday, the day after, I had been trying to get tickets to this for a while. They were near impossible to get, or they were very expensive. So for a number of days leading up, I'd look on ticket websites and there'd be like 6 tickets for sale.
Yeah, you and Nelly both. That she has a subscription.
So there's like 6 tickets for sale, and they'd be like minimum 180 for any seat. And this is like standing room seats. Some of them.
Yeah, that may not sound like much to somebody buying tickets to a Niner game, but it's a lot.
It's a lot for an Austrian Bundesliga match. Like,
yeah.
I won't say it's a normal Bundesliga match, but it's just a league match. Right? It's nothing crazy special. It's just a middle of the season match.
But it was a historic match. Yeah,
it's the Wiener Derby, the Vienna Derby, or as you like to say, the Vienna Derby. So Vienna Derby is the match between the Workers' Club, which is kind of ironically,
that sounds so communist.
Rapid Wien, which was started on the outskirts of Vienna by I think in the late 1800s by working class people, and Austria Wien.
And the Rapid team is my family's team.
Yep.
Just
which I say is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And the other Austrian or the other Vienna team that they are rivals against is Austria Wien. There you go, FK Austria Wien, and they are the purples. Rapid is the greens. And it is a rabid rivalry. They've played, I think it's in the 300s, almost 350 times against each other. And it's one of those derbies in Central Europe that can kick off and fans can brawl out. They have a lot of pyro during the games. So if you saw my TikTok, there's a lot of pyro that happens. At one point, didn't capture on vid, but there was a firework that got shot over the middle of the field, and was like a loud bang sound.
Oh, it was actually a firework, airborne firework.
Yes, someone launched an airborne firework over the middle of the field.
That's what I think American fans are shocked at, because
that's highly illegal in the U.S.
What, illegal? And you get patted down. You can't even sneak in like a big lighter.
Yeah. Here, these guys gotta come just kitted with flares, smoke flares and everything.
I'm also shocked there's never been an incident where somebody's been hurt or even killed.
Oh, I'm sure there has been.
It's just, yeah.
And there, like I saw a couple days ago, a video from a smaller, another Central or Eastern European team where like a bunch of stuff at the bottom caught on fire, and there was a big fireball that erupted.
Yeah.
So it definitely happens. Yeah,
I showed the video to some of the guys at Cigar Night, and they were like blown away, because they said, "Do you mean like smoke bombs?" I go, "Yeah, but there's flames shooting out, and in your video you can see the flames."
Yeah.
And then the flags and the silk banner. I don't know if they're silk, but the huge banners and over the
hand painted
crowd.
Yeah. And that
was the other thing. I said,
by the clubs.
Look at this banner. I said it's basically the Redskin logo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they celebrated there. Yeah.
But yeah, it was so it's the Vienna Derby. Big thing. I even saw on Twitter actually a guy went viral talking about TikTok too, talking about how underrated the Vienna Derby is. And
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Was he Austrian though, or was he
no,
like an
German.
English guy?
German.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
impressive then.
Yeah, because there's some big derbies there. Actually, I think one happened this weekend, which is a funny one. HSV versus St. Pauli, and you'll have to Google that if you want to check out their craziness. But yeah, so it happened. It happened at home at Rapide, which I'll get to the significance in a second. And it kicked off early for Rapide in stunning, exciting fashion for them. And by halftime, it was 3-0 to Rapide, and the game was pretty much over. So they dominated the first half. I mean, absolutely were the better team. Played super well, finished, had a lot of shots. Just were really good in the first half. Second half, there were no goals. Nothing really happened. It was pretty calm. They were still the better team, but just not a lot of attacking. So they're already up 3-0 at that point. They got a lot of players in. But yeah, they dominated actually Austria. And I know in recent years, and so I say this because recent years it's been a very neutral matchup. There's been a lot of draws and a lot of just like tight games. And so this was a pretty surprising result. It is actually the first win for the Rapide at their stadium. And I said that because it's not a new stadium. It was completed in 2000.
First win over their rival.
At the Derby. At the Derby. Since
which is
the
shocking
stadium
because
opened.
I thought the Greens were the better team, but I guess it's just because of the family.
They've definitely had draws, but their stadium opened in 2016, which relatively new, but not new by any means. So it has been a while. They've won on the road against Austria Wien, but not at home. And a lot of recent, they've. I don't think they've had the upper hand in the recent matchup, so it's good to see them win. And definitely still the two biggest clubs in Austria. You know, there may be a club out in Salzburg that's run by a Red Bull company that is much wealthier and plays in the Champions League. But those two teams are still the two biggest clubs in Austria. And it's interesting because it's not a lot of backstory. And with the Rapide being the workers team, Austria Wien being the inner district rich people team. That's how they kind of started.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're the wealthy class team. That actually from what I've read and learned about, that stylized their play too. So Rapide were a bunch more hard nosed, tough football team when they're in their play style.
They were the Raiders of Austrian football.
Yeah, and they the purples at Austria Wien were much more elegant in their play style and how they they just played with the kind of class stature.
I didn't know that because I would have thought that the family would have been supporting the purples just because they're in the inner shot.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's
I'll have to ask them about that.
Definitely an underrated derby in the grand scheme of things. A lot of fun. I had a great time, and it's my second Rapide match. I lucked out with my seat. So they have a VIP section.
Talk about the cushy section.
Yeah, they have a VIP section, which I didn't get to get. You kind of have to know someone to get those. But right outside of the VIP, fenced off area, they have these this small section of leather armchairs that are stadium seating, but leather armchair seating.
Wow, that sounds sweet.
And the first time I went to one, I saw this.
Real
I was
leather, though.
No, it's not real leather, but it's like leather.
Okay.
It's like leather,
okay.
Yeah. The first time I went to one, I had sat on the other side in this leather chair, so I was like, no way, this is real. I can buy a leather seat, watch a match, and I was like, man, this is great. It's the comfiest seat I've ever had.
VIP.
And then it is the same chairs as the VIP section. You still get the buffet that you can walk into, but then I got these tickets for the match, and I paid €70 for them, which is still a lot for a Bundesliga match, but well worth it for me to go see this one.
Yeah, I think
And,
you got lucky. I think
yeah,
Melly was jealous.
I got super lucky. And then I was like having trouble finding my seat because the numbers were really weird. And then I eventually found it, and it was the leather seat. And I didn't know I got the leather seats because I don't know where your specific. They don't have they didn't have the seat number on the maps, so I was like super confused.
Well,
And
just
yeah, I
out of
lucked out.
curiosity, this has nothing to do with the game. Do they have like wait service at those seats? Or
Not
do you
on the
still have
ones
to
I
go get
have.
beer?
No,
Okay.
not on any of the seats actually. No
Okay.
seats have that. The VIP has just yeah, they just you have to go inside to get food. But they have a full buffet and bar inside there. And there's some, I know it's not as strict here in Austria, but like I know in England, you can't watch a football match from inside. Like the suites and everything, they actually close the blinds. And so if you're inside like the club section where you like get food
Can't
and
see the
stuff,
game?
you can't watch from in there. They'll
Why?
close
What's
it.
the thinking
It's
behind
just
that?
the regulations. They want you to be outside in the environment, like in the stadium in your
Freaking
seats.
English.
Yeah, so
Jeez.
it's a big deal and it's very strict.
Isn't it also they don't show the games locally, right?
A lot of times, yeah,
on the telly.
yeah, they get a lot of
Bizarre.
blackouts, just
Even
like
if
the
they
US.
sell out.
Yeah.
But
There's-
in the US,
there's
if
a
you sell
specific-
out the game, there's no blackout.
Yeah, so there's a specific it's like the 3 o'clock time slot on Saturday in England. Those games are go to see the match. For certain ones, they won't televise them because it's like they want you to go see it in person.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's fully still a thing, but I know that has been in the past a thing, and people don't like it as much because they want to watch their footy. So,
All right. Sounds like
um,
you had a good time. So
yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Check out my TikTok if you want to see
Yeah.
my experience.
check out all his TikToks. They're very good.
Okay.
So any other sports news you want to hit before we call it an episode?
No, I think that covers much everything. I mean, the
So
Super
for those of you
Bowl.
watching, I don't know if you noticed, it's interesting to see people's reaction or non-reaction. I no longer have a beard. That's been shaved off.
Yeah, it's
So-
not a good look. I'll be honest.
What?
No one,
People
no
say
one
I look
likes it.
younger. Oh,
Oh, maybe, but it doesn't mean it's a good look.
man. You triggered me, man. I'm depressed now. So, all right.
Well, your Austrian family agrees with me, so
Yeah. That was the Austrian look. Maybe I'll grow it back when I come back.
yeah,
I'll
it's
grow
not
it back
as
for the frickin' Summer Bowl
yeah. There you go.
and
The playoff beard.
Donau Fest.
Donau Insolfest. Gotta,
Oh,
gotta remember that
Island Fest.
Island Fest.
I thought it was officially the Donau Fest for the Donau
Donau
River.
Insolfest.
Oh,
Donau Danube
All right.
Island Fest.
So quickly before we end it, we're talking about their big. It's the largest outdoor free concert in Europe. It happens in Vienna in June.
yeah.
So,
Yep.
all right. So with that, choose.
Wanted
Have
to
a
hear
good week.
episode 46 of the At Wits End podcast.
Cheers.